Isn't it strange? The more you wish for greatness, the further it seems to drift from your grasp. Most people live and die in the illusion that wanting something badly enough will somehow bend the world in their favor. Wishing feels powerful, but it is powerless. It lulls you with comfort, while discipline cold, relentless, and often unwelcome is the only force that quietly reshapes reality. So what is this invisible line between the dreamers and the winners? It's not desire, nor is it luck. It is self-discipline, the ability to say no to the easy road, to betray your own excuses, to rise when nothing inside you wants to. Wishing costs nothing. Winning demands everything. Why does this matter? Because every day you live at the crossroads between who you are and who you could become. Most take the path of least resistance, mistaking comfort for destiny, never realizing they've surrendered before the real battle began. How do you cross that line? By turning every silent promise into action. By choosing the harder path every time until your habits carve a destiny that wishes alone could never touch. This is the difference between wishing and winning. 1. Wishing is the softest lie. Wishing feels safe. It is the gentlest of comforts, a place where the mind can wander without consequence. There, in the privacy of your own thoughts, you allow yourself to imagine a future painted in bright colors, a future where you have already succeeded, where every longing has been fulfilled without a drop of sweat spilled. In the warmth of your wish, you can taste victory, feel the rush of accomplishment, all while your body remains perfectly still. Wishing requires nothing of you. It asks for no sacrifice, no discipline, no action. It costs nothing, and so, in the beginning, it feels like everything. But there is rot at the heart of every idle wish. You may not sense it at first. It is subtle, quiet, like a disease that spreads slowly beneath the surface. Left unchallenged, wishing becomes the softest lie you will ever tell yourself. It whispers, "You are doing enough," even as the hours slip by and nothing changes. It offers you relief from the discomfort of your current circumstances, but only just enough to dull your urgency, to tranquilize your ambition. The comfort of wishing keeps you afloat in the present, but it quietly poisons your tomorrow. Look closely at the world around you. See the silent graveyards of men and women who once wished for greatness but never moved beyond their private hopes. They dreamed of changing their destiny, imagined themselves as victors, but remained trapped in the warm cocoon of their own imagination. Their wishes became their prison. Over time, the gap between what they wanted and what they were willing to do grew wider until it was unbridgeable. They survived on hope, but died in regret. This is the brutal truth. Wishes demand nothing. The world, however, demands everything. No one has ever conquered life by wishing. The universe is deaf to fantasies. It bends only to the will of those who are willing to suffer, to sweat, to push against the inertia of comfort. Every day, countless people convince themselves that wishing is a form of progress. But no amount of desire, unaccompanied by discipline and action, has ever built a bridge to achievement. Those who stop at wishing will never know the taste of victory, because victory is reserved for the ruthless, those who refuse to be seduced by the easy pleasure of daydreams. They understand that every minute spent wishing is a minute lost to reality, a minute that could have been spent building, striving, becoming. Life is not moved by your longing. It is moved by your effort, your sacrifice, your relentless self-mastery. If you would have more than a wish, you must be willing to let it die in the fire of discipline. Only then does the soft lie of comfort give way to the hard truth of growth. Only then do you stop surviving on hope and start living with purpose. Wishing may feel safe, but it is action unyielding, disciplined action that brings tomorrow to life. 2. Desire, the secret furnace. Desire is not what most people imagine it to be. Many talk about it as though it is a gentle yearning, a simple preference, a pleasant ache in the heart, a light that flickers when life is quiet and the mind is idle. They confuse desire with the soft warmth of daydreams, with the harmless wishes that come and go, never truly demanding much. But that is not desire. That is its shadow, its imitation, stripped of force and urgency. True desire is nothing like a fleeting spark. It is a furnace, roaring in the darkness, feeding on your thoughts and your quiet hours. It does not let you rest. It shakes you awake before the dawn and drags you out of bed, burning behind your ribs, refusing to let you sleep when others drift off peacefully. It turns ordinary nights into battlegrounds and ordinary mornings into tests. You cannot bargain with it, you cannot silence it. You cannot reason it away with excuses. When you carry a real desire, it becomes your tormentor and your closest companion, asking more of you at every turn. If your desire feels comfortable, it is a lie. If it soothes you more than it unsettles you, if it waits politely for you to be ready, then it is counterfeit. Real desire disrupts your plans. It makes you inconvenient to others. It makes you question your own sanity, for nothing reasonable ever comes from a furnace that never cools. It is merciless indifferent to your comfort, ruthless toward your weakness, impossible to ignore. The person who has not been haunted by what they must become has never truly wanted anything at all. And yet, this furnace alone is not enough. The world is filled with the bones of those who burned with desire but lacked the discipline to harness it. Hunger alone is not respected. Wanting alone wins you nothing. Desire is a weapon, but a weapon without discipline is useless. A blade left to rust, a fire that devours only itself. The world does not hand out rewards to those who hunger, but to those who take that hunger and forge it day after day into disciplined, relentless action. What matters is not how fiercely you burn inside, but what you do with the heat. The discipline to rise when exhaustion says stay, to act when fear says wait, to persist when every cell screams for relief. That is what transforms desire from a torment into a tool. Only then does desire become your ally, not your captor. Only then does it move the world, instead of leaving you hollowed out by longing. If you find yourself hunted by desire, count yourself fortunate. You have found your weapon. Now master it. Without discipline, it will destroy you. With discipline, it will make you unstoppable. 3. The world's indifference. Nothing cares for your dreams. Not the clock that ticks remorselessly forward, never pausing to consider what you hope to accomplish. Not the weather, whether it arrives as gentle rain or brutal storm, never asking what day would be convenient for you to succeed. Not the indifferent crowd, busy with their own struggles, barely glancing in your direction, unmoved by your ambition or your suffering. The universe itself is vast, silent, and unmoved, a force that watches without judgment, offering no help, granting no mercy. It does not bend for hope, nor yield for desire. If you let it, it will grind your dreams into dust without a second thought. This is the first truth every would-be victor must learn. The world does not owe you comfort. Those who rise to greatness are not the ones who wait for easy days, but those who have trained themselves to persist through the endless indifference of life. They do not stand in the rain and curse the sky, nor do they bargain for softer burdens or beg for the world to be kind. They accept the blows, every setback, every humiliation, every silent night when nothing seems to change and all their effort feels pointless. In those moments, the majority surrender, quietly folding their ambitions into excuses. But those who win are different. They have ceased to expect mercy. They have abandoned the hope that someone will appear to make the path easier. Instead, they embrace solitude. They accept the cold silence of progress, the reality that most of what matters will happen far away from applause, unnoticed by others, unrewarded and unpraised. Self-discipline is not built when the world cheers you on. It is forged when no one cares if you rise or fall. In these moments of indifference, you find out what you are made of. Do you keep going when no one sees you? Do you carry on when there are no guarantees? When each day feels the same? When doubt whispers that it would be easier to quit? Those who wait for certainty, for a sign, for a guarantee, they drift back to the shallow safety of wishing. The path to victory is walked alone, often in the dark, with only your own voice for company. If you crave a guarantee, if you need someone to promise you that it will all be worth it, you are not ready. Go back to the warmth of wishes. But if you crave victory, if you hunger for transformation so deeply that you are willing to pay the price, then prepare for solitude. because true greatness is shaped in the furnace of indifference, hammered out in the silence, and crowned only after you have proved you can stand alone, unbroken, when nothing and no one cares for your dream but you. 4. Discipline, the silent executioner. Discipline is not glamorous. It does not shine in the spotlight. It is not celebrated in public squares or praised in passing conversation. There is no applause for the man who rises before dawn, no cheers for the woman who refuses to betray her standards when fatigue claws at her bones. Discipline is quiet. It is a private practice, a solitary ritual, the silent executioner of weakness and excuse. You will not find discipline in grand gestures or bold announcements. You find it in the unremarkable moments when you drag yourself from bed while the world still sleeps, when you repeat the same task for the 1,000th time, perfecting your craft with no one watching, no one caring but you. You find it in the nights when comfort calls to you, begging you to rest, to let your standards slip, to indulge in the softness that promises only momentary peace. Each time you choose action over comfort, each time you refuse the easy path, you sharpen the blade of your will. Each time you deny your vices when your blood screams for relief, when your mind invents reasons to let yourself off the hook, you drive another stake into the heart of weakness. Discipline demands betrayal. You must betray your laziness. Turn your back on the voice that pleads for one more minute of sleep, one more hour of distraction, one more day without progress. You must betray your craving for validation, learning to move forward when no one notices, no one praises, no one even believes you can succeed. You must betray your longing for shortcuts, for quick fixes, for the fantasy that there is an easier way to become unbreakable. Discipline will not flatter you. It will not indulge your need for recognition. It asks you to become your own judge, your own witness, your own executioner. At first, discipline feels cruel. It feels like self-denial, like the destruction of everything soft and comfortable within you. But this destruction is sacred. The world does not reward softness, it devours it. Comfort is a silent thief, robbing you of your potential, leaving you weaker each day you surrender to its embrace. Discipline strips away the softness, the self-pity, the endless justifications. It leaves behind only what is solid, what is unbreakable. The rituals of discipline are simple but absolute. Rising when others sleep, working when others quit, sacrificing pleasure for progress, refusing excuses no matter how sweetly they are whispered. These are the daily choices that mark the line between those who wish and those who win. Discipline does not promise glory, but it does promise one thing, the chance to take back your life from the forces that would keep you small. If you allow it, discipline will become your deliverance. It will kill your softness, but in its place, it will give you back your strength, your dignity, your freedom. In the end, It is the only power that truly separates the dreamer from the conqueror. 5. Victory is a private war. Winning is not a single glorious moment on a stage. It is not found in the bright glare of recognition, nor is it earned by the fleeting applause of a crowd. True victory is made of 1,000 silent triumphs, forged quietly in the privacy of your own mind and spirit. It is won long before anyone else sees, understands, or cares. You become victorious not when the world acknowledges you, but when you learn to refuse your own betrayal, when you become unwilling to break faith with yourself, even when no other soul would ever know. This is the reality the world rarely admits. Greatness is not built by grand public gestures, but by private decisions in the darkness. Every morning you force yourself to rise when comfort whispers that you deserve to rest. This is a victory. Every time you feel the tug of temptation and choose discipline instead, this is a victory. Each night you go to bed knowing you could have chosen ease, but did not. You carve another mark on the tally of your inner war. Others may call it luck when your life begins to change, when opportunities appear as if conjured out of thin air, when your name is spoken with respect and your results are undeniable. But you will know the truth. You will know about the countless battles fought alone, when your only witness was your own conscience. You will remember the moments when quitting would have been easier, when shortcuts begged for your attention, when nobody would have blamed you for giving in, and yet you stood your ground. The real war is never with the world. The world is only a mirror, reflecting the battles already raging within your flesh and mind. Your greatest enemy is the comfort that wishes for your defeat, the easy path that waits for your surrender. Each day you are faced with a choice. Betray your higher self for a moment's pleasure, or hold the line and claim another secret victory. The scoreboard of life is hidden, and only you will ever truly know how many times you refuse to yield. It is not the loud public achievements that make you a winner, but the quiet refusals to betray your own standards. Every time you master your impulses, every time you walk the harder road when the easier one calls to you, you step closer to a destiny that most will never taste. This is not luck, it is the sum of private wars, fought and won over days, months, years. Understand this. Every outward success is the visible shadow of 1,000 silent victories within. The world may see the surface, but you alone know the depths. In the end, the greatest conquest is not of circumstance, but of self. And it is only by waging and winning this private war that you become truly, quietly, and unbreakably victorious. 6. The enemy within. You know the truth, whether you admit it to yourself or not. The greatest enemy you will ever face is not fate, nor the shifting winds of luck, nor even the heavy hand of circumstance. It is far closer and infinitely more persistent. It is the one who looks back at you from the mirror each morning, waiting for the smallest sign of weakness. This enemy wears your face, speaks with your voice, and knows exactly where your defenses are thinnest. It is this inner adversary that whispers so seductively, "Rest, wait, you've done enough for now. You deserve a break." It cloaks itself in the softness of self-compassion, offering poisoned comfort that feels like kindness but is in truth a subtle, suffocating trap. Excuses arrive dressed as reasonable doubts, as rationalizations that lull you into believing that there is always tomorrow, always another chance to begin, always another opportunity to try. But what this enemy truly feeds you is the slow death of potential, the numbing ache of days spent waiting instead of warring. The difference between those who win and those who wander is not found in external battles. It is found in the ability to see through these lies, to recognize the voice of comfort as the voice of sabotage. The world will always offer you obstacles, but the most dangerous barriers are the ones you place before yourself. Self-discipline is not a fight with the world. It is a daily campaign against the traitor within. The enemy inside knows every weakness, every longing for ease, every fear of discomfort, and will use them all against you if you let it. Each day begins with a decision. Will you serve your higher self, or will you surrender to the cunning of your lesser nature? Some days you will win this war. You will rise, act, persist, and build strength from discipline. On other days, you will bleed. You will stumble, make mistakes, or give in to the old comforts for a moment. This is the nature of battle. Sometimes you are the conqueror. Sometimes you are conquered. But what matters above all is that you keep showing up, keep returning to the front lines, never allowing defeat to harden into surrender. For surrender is the only defeat that cannot be reversed. As long as you refuse to lay down your arms, you retain the power to reclaim lost ground. Self-discipline is not about never faltering. It is about refusing to give up the war. Every time you resist the call to settle for less, every time you challenge your own excuses, you strengthen your authority over yourself. In the end, the only victory that matters is the one you claim over your own mind the day you stop believing the traitor's lies and choose relentlessly to become your own master. 7. Mastery. Through repetition. A single act of discipline changes little. Anyone can wake up early one morning, resist temptation once, or push through pain for a single day. But if discipline is just an occasional event, it evaporates as soon as it arrives. Real transformation is not born from isolated acts of willpower. The foundation of an unbreakable mind is built by what you repeat, by what you choose not once, but over and over, long after the first spark of motivation is gone. It is repetition, not intensity, that builds a will no hardship can bend. The world is relentless in its assault, offering you endless chances to abandon your mission. Quitting is always just a moment of weakness away, always dressed as a reasonable compromise. Every day you will face the urge to lower your standards, to justify mediocrity, to become just like everyone else, comfortable, ordinary, invisible. The seduction of average is everywhere. But each time you refuse, each time you hold the line, your spirit grows harder, your armor thickens, and the fortress of your character is raised one stone higher. Every single refusal to settle, every moment when you choose structure over chaos, order over impulse, reinforces the boundaries of your inner fortress. Discipline is not an event, but a way of life, a system of rituals that define your days. It is the decision to make sacrifice a habit, to let the practice of self-denial carve deep grooves into your identity until acting with discipline becomes automatic. You no longer wait for inspiration to move you, nor do you rely on the unreliable weather of your moods. You act again and again and again until discipline is not just what you do, but who you are. Greatness, despite what the world loves to claim, is rarely built on dramatic flashes of inspiration. It is built in the gray hours, the lonely moments, the silent repetitions no one sees or celebrates. Rituals, those simple, repeated acts of self-mastery, are the scaffolding of greatness. You get up and do the work, not because you want to, but because it is simply what must be done. In time, this process forges a mind and character that does not break when life gets hard. The habits you build in private will either be the chains that keep you anchored to mediocrity or the wings that set you free. Each small act of discipline is a vote for your future self. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you prove you are worthy of trust even to yourself. When discipline becomes a habit and habit becomes identity, you are no longer a slave to chaos, impulse, or the endless temptations to quit. You have become the architect of your own destiny, free from the prison of your own weaknesses. In the end, you will not rise to the level of your dreams. You will fall to the strength of your habits. Build them with intention. And when you do, nothing can stop you from becoming unbreakable. 8. Pain is the tuition. No one escapes the cost. There is no shortcut, no secret, no clever trick that allows you to sidestep the price of self-mastery. Every inch of progress is bought with pain. The pain of longing for a life just out of reach, for a version of yourself that exists only in glimpses. The pain of sacrifice, letting go of comfort, pleasure, or acceptance in order to chase a future that no one else may believe in. The pain of monotony, the slow grind of endless days, repeating the same hard things, holding the line when every fiber of your being screams for something easier, something sweeter, something now. Most people turn back at the first true discomfort. They sense the edge of pain and recoil, retreating to the warm shallows of pleasure and distraction. It is easier to let the moment's relief drown out tomorrow's promise. The average person lives their life running from discomfort, trading the pain of growth for the lesser pain of regret. They do not realize that suffering, endured for a reason, is the very crucible that forges the unbreakable. They hope to win without bleeding, to be transformed without paying the price. But the world has no patience for such delusions. Nothing of value is ever gained for free. But there are those who do not turn back. The rare few who learn to endure, who find a strange dignity in suffering for a worthy cause. They understand that pain is not an enemy, but a teacher, a harsh tutor who demands tuition for every lesson. Each hardship becomes a message, each failure an invitation to become stronger, wiser, more relentless. Suffering is no longer senseless. It becomes the raw material of transformation, the heat that tempers resolve, the stone that sharpens the blade of your will. The world does not reward the one who feels the least pain. It does not celebrate those who hide, who numb themselves, who take the easier path and hope the world will notice. Instead, it rewards the one who picks up their pain and uses it as a sharpening stone, the one who turns wounds into wisdom, scars into symbols of endurance. Every moment of hurt becomes fuel, fuel for progress, for power, for eventual victory. You must become willing to hurt for your future, to bleed for your purpose, to sit with discomfort long enough to let it teach you the truth about yourself. It is only when you accept that pain is not an obstacle, but a price that you must pay for what you want, that you begin to grow beyond the reach of ordinary people. In this way, your suffering ceases to be pointless. It becomes the badge of your transformation. In the end, it is not the pain you avoid, but the pain you endure that shapes your destiny. Only those who pay the cost fully, without complaint, can claim the reward of an unbreakable mind and an unstoppable life. 9. Emotion is not a command. The tides of feeling rise and fall, often without warning. There are mornings when dread settles on your chest like a weight you cannot lift, when the very thought of moving forward seems pointless, when fatigue grinds away at your resolve and hope seems distant. There are hours when anger flickers, threatening to ignite and consume all your best intentions, or when despair seeps in quietly, unraveling your purpose thread by thread. These emotions come uninvited, shaping the landscape of your inner world, whispering stories of doom and helplessness. But emotion is not a command. You do not have to obey the voice that tells you to give up, to wait, to retreat, to collapse. The disciplined mind sees emotion not as a ruler, but as a passing storm, a force to be acknowledged, but never to be worshipped. You learn to observe your feelings as you would watch the weather, noticing the clouds, the winds, the changing light, but refusing to let them decide where you go or what you become. This is not numbness. This is not the cold denial of experience. It is sovereignty, the quiet authority that allows you to choose your actions regardless of what your body or your moods are demanding. You train yourself to act in spite of what you feel, not because you are heartless, but because you are unwilling to be ruled by every gust of fear, every surge of frustration, every sinking tide of sadness. You become the captain of your soul, steering your ship through storms, refusing to let the waves toss you wherever they wish. It is easy to surrender to feeling, to let the weather of your moods dictate the direction of your days. Most people spend their lives as prisoners to their own reactions, chained to the whim of whatever emotion arrives first. But when you choose, consciously and deliberately, to act according to your principles rather than your passions, you break those chains. You stop being a victim of circumstance. You become, instead, a force steady, unshakable, quietly powerful. Emotions, when mastered, become signals rather than shackles. They warn you of danger, remind you of what matters, alert you to moments when something inside must be addressed. But they do not hold the keys to your behavior. You take their message, consider it, and then decide for yourself what is worthy of your energy, your time, your life. You move forward not as a slave to feeling, but as its master. In this mastery, you find a new kind of power, the power to remain unbreakable when others crumble, to move with clarity when others are lost in fog. When you stop reacting and start choosing, you step into a world where every day is yours to shape, no matter the storm that rages within. And in that choice, again and again, you discover that true freedom was never about escaping emotion, but about rising above it. 10. The prize. Becoming unstoppable, so few ever reach the far shore. Not because the journey is impossible, but because most are unwilling to drown in the sea of their own excuses. It is far easier to cling to familiar comforts, to let go at the first taste of hardship, than to cast yourself fully into the water and risk being remade. Excuses become life rafts, fragile but deceptively safe, keeping you afloat but forever far from land. Most spend their days circling the same stretch of shallow water, never venturing into the depths where transformation waits. Winning is not a finish line that you cross in a single moment of glory. It is not a solitary burst of effort, nor is it granted by fate to the lucky few. Winning is a slow, relentless metamorphosis, a daily act of turning raw desire into unbreakable destiny. This transformation is forged in the fires of discipline, by the steel of fortitude, by an unwavering refusal to surrender to the weakness within. Every day, the lesser self begs for relief, bargains for shortcuts, invents reasons to stop. But those who truly win are those who deny the lesser voice, again and again, until something new is born inside them. You do not simply get what you want. The world is indifferent to your dreams, deaf to your wishes. In the end, you become what you are willing to endure. every hardship survived, every discomfort faced, every disappointment carried forward. These become the bricks with which you build your future. The universe measures your desire not by how brightly it burns, but by how deeply you are willing to suffer for its fulfillment. The man or woman who emerges on the other side is not the same as the one who began. They are sharper, harder, more alive. The world sees only the outcome. It notices the new body, the successful career, the accomplished goal, and calls it talent or luck or fate. But you know the cost. You remember the lonely nights, the failures no one saw, the temptations resisted in secret, the tears shed in silence. You carry the scars of your own private wars, the invisible wounds that mark the true price of greatness. It is not the victory itself that changes you, but the unyielding process, the 1,000 times you refused to give up, the million moments you chose the harder path. In the end, the greatest prize is not the trophy or the applause, but the new self you had to create to claim it. You stand on the far shore, changed by the journey, stripped of illusion and made new by what you endured. The distance between wishing and winning is measured not in miles, but in sacrifice, in suffering, in the daily refusal to let your lesser self decide your fate. This is the secret. You are not given victory, you are forged by it. And that is the true difference between those who wish and those who win.